He's having network issue. She'll join back soon.
Yes, sorry about that. I said that, for example, the concept of sentence structures was discussed last semester, and this is communication skills. Whether you use the verbal approach or whether you use the written approach, you need sentences, which means that your knowledge and skills on those concepts, for example, those types of sentences, will help you to be able to communicate, whether using the oral approach or the written discourse. So what I want to emphasize is what we learned last semester. You need them to move, to improve on your language skills. This semester, if you look on the models, we have the concept of reading comprehension to discuss. The concept of reading and comprehension. The concept of reading and comprehension, which is also very significant to understand. One thing is, it is a different thing reading and then a different thing understanding what you read or what you read. You can read a passage, but if you are not careful, you'll not be able to comprehend the passage you read. If you could reflect at the primary school, at the secondary school, at the junior high school, what were our experiences? We were given passages to read, after which we were asked to answer questions that follow. Sometimes a student could score 0 out of, let's say, 10. Another student could score 3 out of 10. Another student could score 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. And you ask yourself, did these students not read the same passage? Why is it that some of them performed poor, while others also did well? It involves a lot of factors. Some of these factors are students' volume in terms of vocabulary acquisition. The wider the volume of your vocabulary, the better you perform. And again, the environment. What kind of environment did you set to do the work? The environment you set could also influence your performance. Again, if the passage you read is also foreign to you, you have no idea about it in terms of experiences and familiarity, that could also affect your comprehension. So The fact that you are able to read a passage is not a guarantee that you'll be able to answer the questions correctly. So we're looking at these objectives that by the end of this section, you should be able to explain the concept of reading comprehension. Take note, explanation or definition of concepts is important. Your ability to understand a concept and by that explain or define the concept is very important. It shows your understanding. And once you do understand it, it will help you to perform well. That is why most of the time, every concept or new topic that we learn, we try to understand, have an idea of what the topic is about. That will facilitate our understanding and contribution in the discussion. And we try to also explain reading technique concept called the SQ4R. The SQ4R is a reading comprehension technique. When you are guided or when you use this technique, it helps you, it improves your understanding. And the S means survey, the Q means question. We have 4 R's. The first R means that you need to read the passage. Yes, you need to read the passage. If you don't read the passage, how do you understand the passage? Or how do you know what the passage is even about? Again, the second R means you need to recite the passage. You need to recite the passage. You'll be able to recite, let's say, a fraction of the passage, or you'll be able to recite a sentence within the passage or a paragraph within the passage, depending on how well you have immersed, how you have soaked yourself and mind in what you are doing, how you have internalized the passage into your system. You'll be able to recite the passage based on your consistency in reading the passage. You have read the passage several times. So at a point, you are able to quote, you are able to read a whole sentence from the passage. How are you able to do that? You are able to do that, or you are able to do that because you have read through the passage several times. You have understood the passage. You have internalized key concepts into your system. You have understood the passage. If you are able to go through all of these, then you'll be able to recite the passage. A section, a fraction of the passage. I normally use poems as an example. You see that somebody will learn a particular poem and then recite the poem. This poem may be 4 or 3 stanzas, or even 1 stanza. But how is the person able to recite without looking on? The person is able to do that because the person has familiarized himself with the poem. And you need to, the third R means you need to review. You have viewed the passage and you need to review the passage, which means that you cannot do well when you have read through the passage once. You need to look at the passage again. You don't read through the passage once. You view again, review the passage to understand the things better, to understand the content well. That will inform the feedback you give on the passage. Then the fourth R in the reading technique is that you need to respond. You need to respond to the questions. You remember in Comstos when we talked about feedback. Yes, you have read the passage. Now respond to the questions. Provide feedback based on what you read. Sometimes with reading and comprehension passages, it's likely you may not find all your answers from the passage. Yes, not always will readers find answers from the passage. Sometimes you are able to get answers from the passage based on your previous experiences, life experiences. Then you connect to answer a particular question from the passage. Sometimes you need to infer from elsewhere. So this tells you that you need, for you to be able to answer the questions well, you should be the type who reads extensively. Because how do you share or connect your previous experiences or relate answers from outside the passage? That will help you to get the answer right. If you are limited in terms of what you read, sometimes you don't do well. So that is the fourth R. You react or you respond. What are your reactions? And the level of your understanding will be evaluated from the feedback or the responses you provide. Then we discuss the types of comprehension. And then we explain, we have a lot of reading faults. Once we are looking at reading as a concept, we look at some faults that readers make. You need to understand these faults and avoid them. You need to shun them. You need to prevent them. You need to do away with them when you are reading, because if you entertain them, they will become they become hindrances to your comprehension or understanding. So we look at 4 of these reading faults. There are more, but we look at these 4 and then you try to avoid them. Do you have any question to ask before I move on? Do you have any question to ask before I move on? Okay. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, madam.
Yes, please, we
All
can hear
right.
you.
Yes, madam.
So look at this, Bailey. This is many years ago, but I like the content. Says that reading is a combination of physical and mental activity. And a key proponent of this position is Bailey, 1971. Yes, reading is a combination of physical and mental activity. When you are reading, you involve your physical body components, and then you also involve the brain because it's a mental activity. So we need a physical and we need the mental aspect too. So it's a combination of the two. So if you think that because you are able to pronounce the words you find in the passage, that is the end, it won't work. You ask yourself, and this is one of the questions that I ask students when I come to class, that where is your mind? What is the state of your mind? The fact that you have joined class is not a guarantee that you are with us. Where is your mind? If reading is a mental activity as well as physical activity, at the time you were reading the passage, where was your mind? So if your mind is not on what you are doing, forget about it because you will never understand it. So your performance will be bad. Where is your mind? You have the passage in front of you and you are faking. You appear to be reading because we see the passage in front of you, but where is your mind? So sometimes these are some of the things that we do and we are not able to do well. Where is your mind? You have been given a passage to read. And for example, you are receiving calls or calling people that you are coming to pick your phone, you are coming to do this, instead of you focusing on the passage at that time. You have a divided attention. So it will affect you. So if you think that you have the passage in front of you to please me or to please the lecturer, no. It will show up at the response stage. It will show up at the last R stage, the reaction stage. All the answers you provide will be a true picture of you not engaging your mind in what you read. So it is also your ability to read a text. It's reading, so your first thing is to be able to read a text. But as you read a text, one thing you need to do is you begin to process what you are reading or what you have read. Processing the information is very important. It means that you are engaging your mind because Bailey says it's a mental activity. If you don't process it, you don't understand it and you don't follow the patterns in the content, what is going on, you don't. And again, I tell students that when you have an answer to a question or when you are contributing to the topic we discuss in class, Always take your time in presenting your answers. I do say this. Don't rush your answers. And at the same time, too, don't be too slow. Don't rush your contributions, the contributions you make. Don't rush the answers you provide, because whilst you have been given the chance to present your answers or your contribution, we, the listeners, will be processing whatever you are feeding our brain. And that will inform us whether you are telling us the right thing or whether you are not telling us the right thing. We'll be able to know through the moment of processing what you are telling us. But if you are not part of us, if your mind is elsewhere, whereas Bailey says that it is a mental activity, therefore let your mind be on whatever is going on and you decide not to. If you fail, you fail and you blame yourself. If you don't do well, you blame yourself because you are not doing the right thing. So you process it. And it's also a systematic process, like we learned in the skills overview of communication skills. That communication is a systematic process. It's a process. It goes through stages. This one too is a process. And you need to, the passage that you've been given to read and provide answers, you need to, one of the activities is to analyze the passage before you. You break the passage into pieces. If you'll be able to do that, it involves questioning yourself, questioning the passage. What am I supposed to do? What does it mean? What does it say? It's part of it. You question. You break it into pieces. After that, you come back to synthesize the information in the passage by putting together everything again. The passage was there and you decided to break them down. And now you are bringing them together by way of synthesizing it. Then you evaluate. You begin to assess, judge, to gain understanding, and finally respond or react to the passage. So you see that before you be able to provide accurate answers to a particular passage, it is not a way of rushing the activity that you do, but it's a process that you need to go through. All right. I mentioned these techniques earlier, but with the survey, what do you need to do? You've been given the passage, you need to skim. Just familiarize yourself quickly with the passage to get the gist. What does it say? What is it about? The general idea. You can do that through the first stage by surveying the text. That is what 1:20:15 says, that you skim. You quickly go through to have an idea, a fair idea about the passage. And then with the Q, which is the question, how many of you do this? You have the passage. You have surveyed the passage. Maybe you have read the first reading. Are you able to set your own questions on the passage. You know that every passage, the author, the writer of the passage sets questions for us to answer. But before you even have an idea or see those questions, are you, the reader, are you able to also set your questions? Are you able to set your own questions from the passage? It helps. If you are able to do that right, you will see that when you go back to the original or the author's questions, you will certainly find the answers, your own questions. You will find some of them reflecting, showing up in the author's questions. And if it happens so, then it means that you are likely to have answers. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to set your own questions or a question that has a relationship or similarities with the author's own. So, having an idea about the passage, ask yourself questions about the passage. Set your own questions about the passage. Take the position of the author and also set your questions. And cross-check with what the author gave you and see whether you will find some of your questions appearing in that of the author's questions. And which questions did you also set which did not appear in the author's questions? At the end of the day, you find answers to all the questions, your questions and then the author's questions. But what you need to focus on first is the author's questions at the end of the passage. Do you understand me?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
sir. Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
What do I mean about the questions? Dixon, how did you understand me? Dixon, are you with us or you've logged in and doing something else elsewhere? Dixon, Sulemana.
Yes, madam. Madam, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. When you are given a text or a passage or a write-up about a subject matter,
Yeah.
you need to set up questions for yourself. So one, why are you reading the text? What do you seek to achieve? And then what are the importance to you, the society, and what the original author seek to put before the whole world. So by those questionnaires, then you do the skimming through of the passage. Then you take time and go word by word, after which you contrast what you have written down against what the author will also provide at the end of the text. In doing so, there will probably be similarities that which will aid
And differences.
and differences. So when you are also trying to pass on the information to a other colleague or a small learner, you are able to speak to issues in your own understanding, backed by what the author put across. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, so if you find the similarities, with that of the author's questions, you see that it will facilitate your responses too, and you are likely to provide quality answers at the end of the passage.
Yes, madam.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Then you read the passage. You read the passage. So reading is a principal thing here, because without reading the text, you cannot undertake the rest of the activities. And I said in the objective time that your ability to recite a portion of the passage depends on how well you have familiarized yourself. Yes, if you consistently read the passage at a point without looking on, you'll be able to quote portions of the passage. And it tells you that you have really internalized those sections into your system. That is why you need to engage the brain well, because it is a mental activity. You cannot do well whilst you are answering or reading a passage and at the same time WhatsApping someone. You can't. It is one thing at a time. So my question is, where is your mind? What is the state of your mind? Where is your mind? Is your mind on the WhatsApp message, or is your mind on the passage that you need to read and ensure that you provide quality answers at the end of the day? So whether you do well or not, sometimes it depends on you. You go over the text. Go over the text to revise the notes and summaries to consolidate the learning and ensure you have grasped the key concepts. Reviewing stage will provide opportunity for the reader to work with information before the processing and then inputting new information begins. You need to review. You need to relook at the passage. You need to rethink about the passage. You need to reconsider the passage. It helps. Then finally, your reaction. Whether you provide positive reaction or negative, that is good or bad, the term is dependent on the first stage to the next stage, to the next, to the next, to the final stage. So at the end of the day, your reaction will inform examiners that you understood the passage. Your reaction, your responses will inform examiners that you didn't understand the passage. And I said at the early stages that whether you will understand and whether a passage will be interesting to you depends on a number of factors. Take notes. So which environment were you when you were answering or reading the passage? Okay. One of our objectives to achieve is on the types of reading comprehension. Sundaraj provides the following: global comprehension, inferential comprehension, evaluative comprehension, and local or factual comprehension. This is an assignment. What you need to do is to look at each of these types of comprehension, read and understand them, and make your own notes based on how you understand the concept through reading and research. So take notes. You can find this on the LMS. Take notes. The global comprehension, what is it? Inferential, evaluative, local, or factual comprehension. It is yours. So find time and do it.
Okay, madam.
And in our last objective, we said that yes, once it's a reading activity, definitely people with poor reading habits will engage in some of these reading faults. Reading faults such as vocalization, reading faults such as regression, reading faults such as extremely slow reading, reading faults such as pseudo reading. We looked at some non-listening skills in communication skills, one under the concepts of listening and hearing. And if you could remember, we mentioned pseudo listening, where listeners fake to listen, but their posture and everything tells you that they are really listening to you. Meanwhile, they are faking, they are pretending. The same way we have pretenders or fake readers. And it's an obstacle. If you think that I'm coming around, so you let a passage be in front and your posture looks like somebody who is focused on the passage, and it is not the case, whom are you deceiving? You'll be exposed and that will be late. So you better do the right thing and have time on important things. And then word pointing. Word pointing, this is also not a good thing. It's an obstacle, it's a hindrance. It draws you back. So all these are things that when you do, you will never understand the passage that you read. But the first question is, what are these reading faults? What do we mean by vocalization? What do we mean by regression? What do we mean by extremely slow reading? What do we mean by pseudo reading? And what do we mean by word pointing? This is also yours. You're going to read and find all these reading obstacles through research and make notes, in addition to the types of reading comprehension that I showed to you earlier. So that is it. And another activity that you do for me is that I will give you a passage, and by application, you will apply the SQ4R techniques to read and answer the passage and submit on the LMS for me individually. So I will inform the reps. Yes, but the slides are already there on the LMS. So this is what we have today on the concept of reading and comprehension. Remember that your ability to read is not a guarantee to understand what you read or what you read. Therefore, as Bailey says, it is a mental and physical activity. You can't apply one and leave the other. It will not work. And it involves a lot of factors for you to be able to provide quality answers to a passage. So use the reading techniques to guide you, understand, and answer the questions after the passage very well. And while every reader wants to enjoy the text and reacts, provide positive feedback, there are some obstacles which we have listed, 4 of them. There are more. You can go and add, but we looked at vocalization, regression. Extremely slow reading doesn't help. It's a hindrance to comprehension. And then the last one, which was word pointing, that one too slows your reading and the effect is bad. Therefore, say no to these reading faults and say yes to the reading techniques by applying them well to be able to provide good answers at the end of your reading comprehension activity. So that brings us to the end of today's class. But before that, what questions do you have to ask for clarification? These are few references. Ask questions for clarification. Sometimes I say that if students don't ask questions, it means that they don't read. Up till now, some people even don't know anything about what is going on in the Com Skills 2 in the models, but you have the models. But the model is elsewhere and the student is elsewhere. They don't meet. All right. What questions do you have? What questions do you have to ask? What contribution, what experiences would you want to share? If you have any previous experience on reading comprehension, you can share. Yes, Suleimana.
Yes, madam. Uh, this is just a small contribution. So, back in the days, there is this novel, Things Fall Apart, and then the gods are not to be blamed. So, in Things Fall Apart, at the summary part of it is to demonstrate the primitive culture of the tribes of the lower Niger Delta, which, of course, like you said, you have to be able to read certain portions of the passage or
Yes.
the write-up, like Okonkwo was well known throughout the 9 villages and beyond.
Yeah.
He's known for his personal achievement by throwing Amaliza the cat,
Yeah.
which went on to demonstrate that nobody has ever flawed that man. So, in that write-up, a quick understanding of it is that you turn to the latter parts of the book, the novel, there are these questions that are being put there. So when you have a fair idea of it, so going through the book will now give you a better understanding of what is in there. Fast forward to the gods are not to be blamed. There was a prophecy that a son will kill the mother, will kill the father and marry the mother. And truly it came to pass. So these are some of the techniques we need to employ. And then we must take pains to understand what the content
It's about.
is about so that we can also transfer knowledge to the future generation. Thank you.
Yes. And you read these literature books many years ago. Why is
Yes,
it
madam.
that you are able to recite fractions or portions of the text of the novel? It's because you consistently read.
Yes,
You
madam.
read over and over. You familiarize yourself with those portions and they became part of you. You internalize the concepts. Otherwise, you understood those things. That is why you remember and you are able to bring them back or say them as it is in the novel.
Yes,
We are
madam.
not talking about the road style where people just chew and say it. No, with meaning. Because if you did not understand, I always say that before you remember, it comes with understanding. People that don't understand don't remember anything. But those who really understand, they remember, and forever they are able to quote portions of, yes, portions from these novels. So, and they are able to apply it. For me, the application is important. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, energy, resources, and all that. Why are we here if we are not able to apply these things? Okay, thank you once again. Any other? You need to contribute because I'm scoring you and it is part of the assessment. You can go and refer. Any other? All right. If nobody has any question or contribution, then we close. And thank you for joining and conducting yourself well. The atmosphere is fine. It is a good one for academic work. Thank you.
Oh,
You're
good afternoon,
welcome,
madam.
madam.
Gabriel, your hand is up. Gabriel. Gabriel. Gabriel.
Hello.
Your hand, yes. What's the issue?
Please, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. We are listening to you. What's it? Hello?
My next question.
You can type it. Hello? And then maybe you make it another time.
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Who is online?
It's me, Nathaniel.
Hey, Nathaniel, how are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
I'm fine, thank you. Are you on the field or you are in Accra?
Yes, I'm on the field. Yes, I'm on the field at the
Okay.
same time join the class. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right.
Gabriel. All right, Gabriel. You keep your questions for our next meeting, or you can call later. We can't wait for you any longer. So, enjoy your weekend.
Thank
Bye.
you.